Okay, boys and girls, what we're going to be making today is good old-fashioned keto jambalaya. Now, we're going to be doing it a little differently than the Cajuns and the Creole do it. What we're going to need is we're going to need 2 large chicken breasts cut up in chunks, like so. Just take the chicken, cut the breast up, boneless, skinless if you can get it, but if you have to bone and skin your own, that's perfectly alright too. Okay. My left hand is now contaminated. Okay, now we're also going to need some sausage. Now the traditional recipe calls for andouille, which is a smoked ham sausage, and it's French. It's a really nice sausage, but almost impossible to find unless you're in a French community or you have a really, really good grocery store. I know I can't find it. So what I'm making do with is nice, actually, a medium Italian sausage. It's a little bit different in the spices, but I like the spices, so I think it'll work pretty well with what we have here. What we're going to do is we're going to actually cook these up and then slice them. The recipe usually calls for you to slice it first and then just add it. You'll see what I'm doing once we get to the stove. Okay? From there, we assemble a mirepoix. What a mirepoix is a combination of celery, carrots, onions, and green pepper. That's the base of pretty much all Cajun Creole cooking. We dice it up nice and fine, and we try to keep all the pieces about the same size. You want to keep an evenish ratio to keep the flavors balanced, and we're going to need a can of diced up tomatoes, salt and pepper to taste, and of course we're going to need some riced cauliflower. Now you're going to want to leave this like I have in here in a strainer with a piece of paper towel in it, because the cauliflower holds on to a lot of water and we don't need that water. Usually with jambalaya, what you have to do is you have to boil the rice and add a lot of chicken stock, and oh yes, there's also a cup of chicken stock in it, but that's over on the stove boiling and you'll see. So anyway, you boil the rice until it's cooked and you do it all that way. With the cauliflower as rice, you actually get everything assembled first, get a nice thick sauce going, then you put the cauliflower in to cook, because the cauliflower doesn't take long to cook and it has a lot of its own moisture, so it doesn't actually need moisture from something like water or a stock or something. So we'll have to control the fluid in there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to brown these sausage and get a good fond going in the bottom of the pot. Then we're going to add the mirepoix, and then the chicken and the tomato. Some people also put spices. They like it spicy, but unfortunately I can't really deal with spice. It's an ulcer thing. It's nothing to worry about. But anyway, like I say, most people add a bit of, they could add some hot pepper, or they could add chili, or just a lot of different spices that fit in there. Now, also, some people add shrimp. I'm not a fan of shrimp, so I won't be adding it. But the recipe itself, think of it as a really flexible recipe, because jambalaya just literally is French for jumbled together. It's a recipe that started in Cajun backwoods kitchens where people just had what was there. They had rice, they had some meat, and they had the mirepoix. Throw that together with some sausage, and throw it together with some spices, and you had supper. So don't get too concerned of what actually is in it, because as long as you have the mirepoix named down, got some spice to it, you're pretty much working with a jambalaya. It's not a very complicated recipe. It's not a very hard to mess up recipe either. You just need to go with it. Well, let's begin. Okay, now what we're going to be doing first is adding about a tablespoon of butter to the pan. That's to get the sausage going. We just tip them in. We want to get them nice and browned. Now, these sausage aren't cooked, so you have to cook them semi-thoroughly. They will cook in the sauce, but you want a nice brown outer coating to begin with. Now remember, we don't want to burn the butter, so if we have to turn it down just a pinch, that's fine. See, you want to turn the sausage so they're getting heat on all sides. Okay, and I'll fast forward until they're cooked. Okay, and now, through the magic of YouTube, the sausages have a nice brown coating. See? Now, like I said, we don't want to overcook them. We just want to brown the outside and get them a little bit cooked. What we're going to do now is take them out, put them on a plate. And now that we have this lovely black goop at the bottom, this is actually a lot of spices from the sausage with the taste from the butter. So to this, we're going to add our mirepoix. Now, we're going to leave the mirepoix in. We're going to give it a nice couple of stirs every once in a while. And it's about medium heat. We want to soak up all that flavor from the sausage and from the butter. We're just going to sweat it until everything gets nice and soft and translucent. And while that's going on, give it a stir every once in a while. We're going to slice up the sausage, and let's fast forward again. Okay, and as you can see, our mirepoix is pretty well sweated down. Absorb the oil nicely, and if you could smell this, you'd go crazy. Now the sausage has been cut somewhat thickly, about a centimeter, that's about ½ inch I think, pieces. Okay. And now we're going to add the chicken to that. Mix it all up so the chicken doesn't stick together. This is going to be really hearty and it's going to make a lot of servings. Okay. Straight down the sides. Now the one thing I did forget that I'm going to be adding is a bay leaf. We can fish that out later. Okay. Just want to give the chicken a little bit of a quick heat before we add some fluid. Okay. Now, here come the diced tomatoes. And I didn't drain them, I added the fluid too. And out of this pot here, we're going to steal a little fresh chicken stock. Now, I said this before, we're trying to control the fluid, so we don't want a lot. Once we get the, maybe a little bit more. If you could smell my kitchen right now, you go crazy. Okay. Now, we have to leave this cook on a simmer for about 20-25 minutes, okay? Don't go too far though, because you do have to stir it every once in a while. Okay, and we're going to fast forward to the next step. Okay, now this has been simmering away for about 25 minutes. As you can see, it's reduced quite a bit. Cooking is all done. The chicken's nice and cooked thoroughly. All of our vegetables are nice and soft. Now, oh, yes, I forgot about that. Now, push it back down. What we want to do is get rid of that bay leaf. So we just sort of stir around until we find it. And we pull it out. Careful, it is hot. Now, this is where the magic happens. We're going to be adding in some of our cauliflower. Now, it's nice and dry. I'd say we'd add about 2, maybe 3 cups. It's all depending on taste, if you like it. Then we stir that around. Now, cauliflower is nice and stirred in. We're going to leave that cook for maybe another 5 minutes or so on a little bit higher heat. Okay? And we'll come back when it's done. And here we have the finished product. Lovely, delicious, hearty, keto, whatever, jambalaya. Now remember, this recipe can very easily be modified, so if you have any dietary restrictions or any particular taste that you want to use on this, feel free. And as always, bon appetit.